Wow, wow, wow. You guys, so much to discover. So much to discover. You can't believe it. So much to be discovered and so much to discover. We have inventions all around us, potentials for invention, potentials for innovation, and potentials for discovery all around us. Everywhere you look, you have it. I mean, if you look at the trees, you have potential for discovery. If you look at the earth, you have the potential for discovery. If you look at the sky, potential for discovery. You look at people, potential for discovery. Our life and the world around us is an innovation laboratory. It's an innovation laboratory. So much potential to discover so much and so many things. How I wish that we would discover the secret of doing it. And that is why you have to begin to thank God for work. That's why you have to begin to thank God for work. Because work is that secret. Is that secret and that power, that gift from heaven, through which we could discover anything and everything that could make our life better and that could make us closer to God. Because when we discover nature, when we subdue nature, we actually move closer to God. We actually move closer to God. So, through work is an instrument of discovery. I want you to write that down. That's one important thing you must know today. Work is a powerful God's gift to us for discovery. Now, okay, so I'm saying for you to, really discover all the beauties of life, for you to discover all the great things that God has put in nature, you need work. Work is that beautiful instrument that God has given unto us for us not to live a boring life. Work is that instrument that through which we don't live a boring life, but through the instrument of work, we make our lives richer on a daily basis. You could enrich yourself daily, both materially and morally and spiritually, through work. Work is an instrument of discovery. Work helps us to discover nature and the wealth that is hidden in nature. Now, let's go to the book of Genesis. Let's go to the book of Genesis chapter 2. And as we are going there, you will discover that from verses 8, as you are going there, you discover that the reason, and like I told you the other day, yesterday, the reason why God did not send rain to the earth was because there was no man. It's not just that there was no man, there was no man to work. There was no man to work. So only after God created man, and not just that he created man and put him somewhere, but he created him and took him to the Garden of Eden and gave him the instruction to work. Only after man had taken responsibility to till the ground, to till the earth, and to keep the earth, to develop the earth, to nurture the earth, only after that, God let the rain fall. God began to give the rain, and and things began to happen. When there is a person to take responsibility, to work, and not just to work, but to work hard on the earth, every person that discovers the secret of work and hard work, they are people of discovery. They don't live a bored and boredom life. They begin to discover one thing or the other. Let's see how that happens in the Bible, in the book of in the Garden of Eden, in the book of Genesis. So Genesis chapter 2, verse 8. The Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. He put the man whom he had formed. He put the man to do what? we were told, he put the man to tend and till the ground and to keep it. That's in verse 15. To till the ground. So when the man started tilling the ground and keeping it, let's see the process of discovery began to take place. You remember I said, through work you discover life. Through work you discover the earth. And through work you discover nature. So the process of discovery began for Adam and Eve. Because once they put them in the Garden of Eden, one of the things that this began to discover is that the ground upon which they were standing and walking, verse 9, that out of that ground, things began to happen. But before they took responsibility to work, things never happened. Nothing grew from the ground. But once they took responsibility, the Bible says the Lord God made every tree to grow that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. So God began to make everything grow on the earth as long as man began to take responsibility. So that's number one discovery. The earth became an interesting thing. The earth became a fascinating thing for man because they took responsibility. Once you begin to take responsibility for your own sphere of influence, by the way, every one of us should be aware that we all have our own land. We all have our own land of promise. You try it out. Begin to take responsibility for your own land. Begin to take responsibility for your own sphere of influence. Begin to take responsibility for that place that God has called you to bring the kingdom of God to, or to restore for him. You will not believe it. You will begin to discover that there are some things in that land. And what do you mean that? How do I know that you take responsibility? How do you take responsibility? Somebody could say. Start by researching. Start by studying the land. Start by researching the land. Begin to do research about the needs of the land. Begin to do research about the problems of the land. And begin to do research about how to resolve those problems. And how those problems have been resolved by people who have lived before you. Once you begin to study and to research into the land of promise that you are called into, you will discover that there are much more things in that land of promise than you had even thought or imagined before. You'll begin to discover, just like Adam and Eve began to discover here, that it happened that the earth actually is capable of bringing forth trees. That the earth, actually, there is something hidden in the earth. You see, it was only God himself who knew that there was something hidden in the trees. It was only God. It is only God that is capable. That knew that there were seeds on the earth. That they didn't know. Adam and Eve didn't know that, and they didn't know that the earth was supposed to be bringing forth and developing trees, herbs, and plants. But once they took responsibility, they began to discover that immediately, because God began to make sure that the earth was giving birth, or giving rise to trees, to herbs, and to plants and different things. So that is the beginning of the discovery journey of Adam and Eve, because the earth began to give birth to trees and to plants. It gave back to their own curiosity, because it was God who started the process. God made every tree to grow that is pleasant to the earth. And since it was pleasant to them, they now began to discover that actually the earth could give birth something. The earth could give birth to something. That there are things hidden in the earth. That is what you should discover too. There are things hidden in your own earth as well. There are treasures hidden in your own earth. There are treasures hidden in your promised land. Treasures in every land. The land that God has called you to, especially if you are called to any, it doesn't matter if you are called to the world of medicine, and in your own particular sphere of that earth, there are so much things to discover there. It was just recent, I was so shocked when I discovered that when we say somebody is a medical doctor, it's not really a correct term. Because when you say somebody is a medical doctor, or is a doctor of medicine, even if he has PhD, It's still not accurate, because when there's so much more to discover in the world of medicine alone. You can't believe it. If we take all of humanity, we have 70 billion people on earth today. If we make everybody to become a doctor of medicine, they will still not have finished studying medicine as a subject. So to say that somebody is a doctor or PhD in medicine is not possible. I mean, can you imagine that all doctors in this world, all medical doctors in this world, if we only make them to be specialists in one area of medicine, that they will still not have exhausted what it means what needs to be known about medicine, about that particular sphere of life. Let's take an optician, for example. Even when you talk, what I mean is that when you say somebody is a doctor or a doctor of medicine, you should ask him the question, what sphere or what area of medicine. It could tell you, okay, optician, or he could tell you, he's a surgeon, or he could tell you he's a general practitioner, or he could tell you he's a doctor specializing in gynecology, or something like that. You can only be a doctor specializing in one area. But even in that one area, there's so much more to discover. It's so inexhaustible in human being alone. Can you imagine that? If all doctors in the world have been studying gynecology, only gynecology as a subject, and everybody studying, they would not have even gotten to the bottom of that disease, of that sickness, of that particular part of the body. If all doctors on earth had become doctors on the eye alone, they would not have been able to resolve the problem of the eye alone. So there is so much to know and to discover. There is so much people are still discovering today. If they have discovered everything that needs to be discovered about eyes, then we would have been making eyes. We wouldn't have been using glasses. Even tooth, even if you are a, tooth doctor again, dentist. Even if you are a dentist, you have not. Can you imagine all manner of doctors, dentists that we have in the world? They are still discovering today how to treat teeth. If they have discovered, they won't have been removing teeth. They won't have been putting fake teeth. There are still much more to discover. What am I saying? It is only you cannot say, oh, everything is already ready. Everything is ready. There is nothing more to discover. There are so much more to discover. So much more to discover. Even in those areas of medicine. Can you believe it? I mean, I'm just taking one little thing, eye or tooth, the little things of life that we say it's just so little. Teeth, dentists, even all medicine cannot discover all the secrets behind medicine. I mean, behind the teeth. Or even the one single, only eye, ordinary eye. All medicine can still not find the mystery of the eye, because that is why there is always a place for all of us. That is why you are packaged in such a way that there are things for you to discover. There are things for you to discover. Every one of us could be discovering things every minute, and we will still not exhaust the wealth and the things to be discovered on the earth. So this is why this message is so true work. You could open a whole world of discovery. True, and it's not just to discover to make money. Yeah, you could discover things to make yourself rich and wealthy and make money. But even the interest of it, even the fascination of it, of discovering, the wealth of God's creation and God's wisdom, is worth it, because you will never be bored. You will never be bored if you are living in constant world of growth and discovery. You will never be bored if you are constantly dipping into God and into creation. There is so much to discover, and it is because of work that we discover. Only through work you can discover new things. Can you imagine that Adam in this place discovered that the earth could give birth to things, and that there are things hidden in the earth, and of course that is what made him to begin to and that is what, just by discovering that there are things on the earth, that is what leads to agriculture. That is what it's a whole science, agriculture. Can you imagine if the whole world has been studying agriculture today, we would still not have exhausted it. I mean, and there's so much to still discover about the earth since the days of Adam. And then it goes on to say, not just trees were not just growing from the earth, but they were growing to be pleasant pleasant to the eyes. Can you imagine, botany, the whole world of botanical world, the whole world of plants is a whole science today. There are all universities studying botany and botanical science just because, just by observing and studying plants and trees. It's a whole world. I mean, there is a whole world and a whole science of ecology today. Just by observing and by studying ecology, plants, trees. So much to discover. Now, why is that important? Why is that important? Do you know how we came about plane? Do you know why why we came across plane? How we get to have plane today? It is thanks to plane that I'm here in Europe from Africa. It is thanks to plane that you are in America, where you are from wherever. It is thanks to airplanes that we are flying all over the world. That idea to have aeroplane, that men could build aeroplane, first came to the heart and to the mind of men. You know how? By observing nature, by discovering nature. By observing nature and discovering nature through hard work. You know how they discovered the science of fly, that we could fly? Because, men discovered and they observed nature and discovered that in nature, there are objects that are flying. Birds are flying. That if birds could fly, why is it that we could not fly? Is there any way? And they started studying it. Through mathematics and through science, they started researching and doing research, and through biology as well. Through research, they cut into pieces. People have gone through different ways to discover why and what is the secret behind birds flying. They cut them into pieces. They measure their gravity, the law of gravity, and what makes them to fly, and why they fly. What are the dynamics behind the flight of birds, and what could be built into, what kind of system could be built to violate the law of gravity and to make flying objects and planes. So just because we observe nature, we got the idea that we could also build flying things. So it is through hard work that from observing it goes into working. But observing also is a form of work. But through labor, hard labor, people have been able to come with calculations. People have been able to come with science. People have been able to come with chemistry, with biology, with microbiology. With science, with physics. They have been able to come up with mathematics to calculate the formulas that will be able to, give birth to plane. And that is why we have planes today, by observing nature and by discovering nature. So much for us to discover, man. Thank you so much for watching our videos. Now, we need to spread this word, and we need to do it together. For that to happen, we need your help. Just 5 little steps that you could help us to spread the word. Number one thing we need you to do is to like the videos. Please go like this video right now. Number 2, if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Number 3, we need you to press and click on that notification bell. You see the bell? Go press on it. And number 4, we need you to go comment. Write your comment, good or bad. Just write what you feel. Number 5, share on every platform. Share on Instagram, share on Facebook. Just share and spread the word. Thank you so much.